influenced by data. So any data I can give them, any inkling that that listing agent gives me, the most feedback I can give them that's not mine but data driven has been very helpful. And then just it's kind of like being a therapist, you know, it's really hard. A lot of them don't, you know, the gap coverage or parents covering things aren't always a reality for everyone. So I'm constantly telling them it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, it's not gonna happen maybe next weekend or the weekend after, but we will stay after this, and then just constant networking, but mostly it's data and just giving it to them in that way, you know, at least they can say, oh no, there's no way we could have done that, and then they feel better. You know, that's something I think that's helped a lot.
I would say, you know, we're industry experts, right? We're the authority on our industry, and so being that means sometimes finding strategies that are not in our MLS, right? That are off-market properties. We know that our industry is an industry of relationships, right? That doesn't just mean to our clients, right, and to our communities. That means to our colleagues, right? Those relationships matter on the other side when we go to submit those offers, right? So I would just say, you know, be kind, be professional as well to your colleagues in this industry. It goes a long way when you submit the offer on the other side.
Yeah.
That's good advice. I would say, I agree, industry expert in setting expectations, like you said, Lori. It is our job, and I'm ready with the buyer to tell them it is my job to make you as pretty and shiny as possible, and that means that we go over with financing. As we all know, FHA and VA right now, especially VA, is having a really hard time reading the offer chosen. So working with your affiliate partners, if I have a VA buyer, I get them totally underwritten. We're always so that when I send that, all we're waiting for is appraisal and clean title, and stressing that. Same way with VA. Two, as most of us are aware, there are buyers now that is no longer going out for a weekend, picking a house and writing a contract. They can be writing offers for months. So opening their mind to something they may be against because it takes too long. New builds, maybe even building from scratch where it's raw land, become experts of being outside the box thinking for your buyers. But the biggest thing I see is that if you don't set the expectation for them, when they go out and see that first house that they fall in love with, have to have this one, no one else will work, none of those will work, and you haven't set the expectation and they lose that offer. It's so hard. Sour grapes on a house is horrible, so we have to set the expectations.
So we're coming at it from a different perspective. We're a home inspection company. So what we have done is created a course called the Going Commando course. Home inspection. Yes.
Because you don't want to buy a house and have your ass hanging out. Right.
So the thought behind this is that we have a 4-part series that teaches buyers things that they need to look for. So when they have that 15-minute walkthrough, you guys aren't the ones saying, well, hey, this is a panel that might need replaced, or this might be done. They can look at it themselves and they can say, okay, based on those videos, we saw X, Y, and Z might cost us $10,000, let's walk. And it's not you guys saying that, and you guys with your butt hanging out going, well, hey, we did this on your advice. No, they did it on their own. And then the cool thing is that they can come back after they've purchased that house, and we can do the maintenance inspection for them, give them the list of the stuff that they need to know how to take care of their house, and that fee is taken off of that for them. So we've done some creative things within our company to help people, because we know it's a reality that you are going to waive the inspection, but you shouldn't go without the information that you need for your new house.
That's good.
We've even, so for some of our clients, we actually take, depending on the style of the home, that sort of thing, we actually take a contractor into some of these homes, right? If they know it's an older home and those sorts of things. We're scheduling the 15, and I know that some of these overlapping showings are coming back too, so that gets a little sticky sometimes. But we're already scheduling the 15 or 30 minutes, right? And we're already in there, they're already looking at the home. It's a good opportunity for us to be comfortable with waiving the inspection if that's something they choose to do.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies. All right, this one's a little bit deep. So, how have you overcome adversity you have faced, and what was presented, and how did you get through it? So I guess you could apply that professionally and or personally. It's kind of adverse in this market right now. Lori. A little deep, guys. Yeah, let's talk Lori.
So let me see. Well, part of the things that we've been facing is the same as you guys, the shortage of housing, the shortage of people waiving inspections. And so basically we've been remarketing ourselves because we can still come in and educate a homeowner about their house. We can still give them the free warranties that we offer. They can still convert those to a year-long warranty, and they still know what's going on with their house. They at least have the information to be able to live there and take care of it like they would have if they'd had a regular inspection. So I think looking at things and being able to look at them in a different way and rebrand yourself is also very important in this industry, so that you do have the ability to change and grow as the market gets screwier and screwier.
I would call that pivot. I know Lori has been through this with us, but 2008, I think that caused all of us to pivot. So I would think that's one of the biggest adversity that we've had, which where literally there was a sign in the yard for sale. They were a short sale. So when we saw that trend coming, you had to make lemonade out of lemons, and we became one of the leading short sale specialists. There's always going to be real estate. It does not matter if we're at 10% interest rates. It doesn't matter if it's short sales. It doesn't matter if it's already property. So you just got to be willing to adapt and willing to work. Unfortunately, in this industry, a lot of people think real estate is stick a sign in the yard and get paid, and it's really easy, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's where you work your ass off for way less money, which was during the short sale period. And it just is what it is. You adapt, you pivot, you thrive, and you work with the industry. It's going to happen this through the years for sure.
I guess I would say, for me, from a professional standpoint, one of the biggest adversities, if you will, was just setting up the business like a business, right? Like, I think sometimes we come in and our industry, we don't do a good job at showing the agent how to set this up and run this like an actual business, right? They come in and we're like, okay, cool, I got a couple houses, they're gone, great, it's in contract, cool, what's in? That closes. All right, cool, I got a $10,000 check. No, you don't. You don't have a $10,000 check.
Right.
You pay your taxes, you need to put some money aside, you know what I mean? And so I think that that was one of the biggest challenges for me, especially coming from a traditional 9-to-5 mentality, something that was always stable, always had an entrepreneurial spirit, but didn't know the shift of, okay, you're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur, but no, oh no, you're a business owner, that looks different, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna sound like a brat because I came into real estate in like 2015. So I look like a genius. I did not, and I remember 2008, my mom had a small business, my dad owned rentals, like I do remember that, but I was in high school. But I do know what it's like to be told no a lot because I have to go after commercial portfolio lending for my loans. So I remember being like 21 and everyone telling me no. And I think that just to my adversity, that was the biggest challenge for me. I was working for Don Kenny at the time, who was a multifamily developer, and he kind of gave me like a little bit of an endorsement via an email, and I took it and I like showed it to a bunch of banks saying like, hey, this guy thinks I'm not an idiot, like I promise I'll pay my bills. So I guess my only advice with being told no a lot, I guess as buyer's agents right now, we're being told no a lot. With every no, you get smarter and you learn something. So now when I talk to LOs, they're like, you could be an underwriter. I'm like, yeah, it's the PTSD for me. What's the DTI? What's like the DSCR? Like, okay, I got this. Here's my spreadsheet. So I think with every no, I learned something. But like I said, I can't talk to 2008. I feel for you guys though, and I'll listen to whatever stories you have. High school this and that's all that's the those I guess that I dealt with.
Oh gosh, where do we begin? I think basically anytime that you deal with all this change, I think it comes down to relationships. So you have to kind of work and go back to networking. And if somebody doesn't have a house, and somebody's looking for a home in a particular neighborhood and it's not there, think about who you might know in that area, or work the people in your network, and it just goes back to relationships.
Sure.
Maybe sounds also so good. And Abby, I think one day people look back and say, God, I feel so bad for you. You lived through 2020.
Yeah.
It's all perspective.
Right.
Yeah. And I love that there's like, we all need each other. So you're a younger agent. You haven't been doing it for that long.
Yes.
But you have years under your belt. And Stacy, someone like you, has experience that is like there's nothing like experience. So we all need each other. There's room for all of us, and we all have different perspective. And so it's also good. Okay, so this next question kind of lends itself to the one I just asked. And I want you to get real and give real world examples if you can, because I feel like that's when people can relate to you the most. So if you're able to pull your answer from an actual recent transaction or something you've experienced, feel free to share that. What's one of the most difficult scenarios you've had to deal with in your, this says career, related to a transaction, maybe recently? Lori?
Well, tomorrow I had a client who thought that they were closing on a home, and guess what? They're not. So there's a lot of emotions that go on. There's a lot of different parties that are involved, and everybody is on high emotions. And so I think that we, as the real estate professional, have to make sure that instead of exploding, we kind of go back to saying, okay, what's going on, understand the situation, and really try to help our clients and our colleagues and everybody involved navigate through the process to see how we can resolve the situation and get through it, because nothing closes till it closes, right? So, at the end of the day, it is a process and we have to get through it. So I think this, being patient, and that's the key.
Yeah.
So be kind to your fellow real estate agents and lenders and title reps and everybody that's involved.
We could talk about our situation, Sharon. So most of the time when I'm listing, it's because I sold an investor a property and they flipped it and they put money into it, and then I list it, and it's not as emotional on that side. It's very numbers. They just want to make as much money as they possibly can. And I had a flip in Linden. A lot of times this is like our pain points on the investment side is like appraisal. It's just not appraising for what we're in contract for. And I think you did something right about you have to wait, and like I'm so quick to snap sometimes, and I'm working on it. But Sharon calls me and the house didn't appraise by like some $20,000 or something, and it was a low dollar house to begin with. It's not like we were dealing with a $500,000 house. I think it was like under 150. So that's a lot of money to a flipper who Marcia Drive? Let's not Linden. And it's already gone. It's closed. We got through it. So there's a good ending to the story. But I was so quick to being like, oh my gosh, like an idiot appraiser. There was a comp down the street. And, okay, it was across Cleveland Avenue, but like kind of close. But I just remember being so quick to be like, Maddie, your Sharon was great. She was a great co-op agent. And I said, okay, give me 5 minutes. Let me call my client. Let's come to a solution together. It was the only time in the history of forever I won an appraisal fight with that lender, and it worked out, and we got a good win-win going. But I think you spoke to it. Just pause and take a second. Think about what's going to be the best case scenario. And one day I'm going to run into that appraiser again, and he's going to be very happy I was nice to him, and I didn't say anything that I really wanted to say. I'm going to run into that lender again. Wait till you get off the phone, and then I'll go to my husband and tell him everything.
You make sure you hung up.
Yes, hang up. But I think waiting and just taking a step back, and that's helped me a lot.
I always I pause because when she says go deep, then I start literally, she asks the question, I'm like, oh boy, that sort of thing. For me, transaction-wise, I would honestly say, so my clients shop in all different areas, right? And one of the most challenging things that I have faced in my career thus far is just having to deal with some discrimination, unfortunately, in certain areas that some of my clients are looking to purchase. I recall a transaction that we were looking to push through in German Village. I remember the agent driving past to see who was showing the house, right? And so I think about these things, and I share that with you all today because I know that sometimes we think that these things are in the past, but they do still exist in our industry today. And there are some challenges that we still have to overcome. And on a positive note, I take that very seriously with how I advocate for my clients and how I advocate as a professional in this industry on those subject matters. So,
Awesome. So I saw that question earlier, and I kind of laughed because it obviously said that you didn't think about a transaction. One of them was whenever you have one of those transactions where you're talking to your affiliated partners and you're kind of expressing how you really feel about your clients in the situation, just make sure you don't hit reply all.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's my
Always double check before you hit send.
Always check.
Is I have to say, when this whole market started, I had a woman.
Everybody's done that, right?
I really think the term, and it's kind of quote unquote, was I wish they could go play in traffic. Yeah, it wasn't real good. But on the other end, I got another one on the other end. When all this crazy market started, I met this lady, and I think she was some sort of paid Realtor.com, maybe Zillow, whatever it was. But when I met her, she was coming out of her daughter was in high school, out of domestic abuse. And so her price point was less than $200,000, had to be in Marysville School, FHA buyer, no appraisal gap. So as you can imagine, literally knowing her situation, what she was in, where she was coming from, we celebrated our 1 year looking for houses, because we were still looking for houses. You can imagine the emotional roller coaster. Oh, it's Marysville. You know, there's a lot of inventory in Marysville, under 200,000 FHA, no appraisal gap. By the time, and so here's my point on this, never ever look at a client as a dollar value. By the time we actually got her into a home, if I would have taken the time spent, the money made, because I even put money into the transaction to finally get her to the closing table, but it is one of the best relationships. Don't ever, okay? I got it, I think. Usually you can only hear me when I'm yelling at Jim. But anyway.
2 states away.
Yeah, don't ever associate anybody with a dollar sign. Like because the world is bigger. Grow with if you're a newer agent, grow with your buyers. You'll be surprised how many, if you're true, if you're authentic, and you're genuine, it'll grow. So never treat your person like a dollar sign. Be emotional, be with them, be authentic, and it'll come back tenfold.
Very good.
And don't fight all.
Always check twice.
I would follow up with what she's saying with make sure that if you're a listing agent that everything is on the disclosure that's supposed to be on the disclosure, because you have people purchasing the house that may have health concerns, and if everything's not on there, that can impact them. We had a client who had a kid that had asthma, I believe it was, and we were doing a mold test. And the listing agent, who, by the way, was also the buyer's agent, kind of freaked out and was like, well, why are you doing this? I know this house intimately. There's no mold here. End quote. So we do the mold test and we get it back, and the scores are actually some of the highest that we've ever gotten, even to this day, 20 years. So through a series of email, they find out that the bathroom had been completely demoed and the floors torn out because there was such a huge leak, and they'd never cleaned up any of the mold issue or gotten rid of any of it. And if we hadn't done that test, that kid could have had an asthma attack and died. And that agent didn't care. Care about your clients. Make sure that your RPDs are correct and that they're up to date. If you have an inspection, update them. We've got another one in Dayton. Literally, they're not updating the RPD, and the inspection was done 2 weeks ago, and it's in contract with somebody else with the old disclosure. So
That's good.
keep up on things. Yeah.
All right, so this is officially dead. Sorry, everyone. So make sure you just project your voices. Given the sake of time, I think we'll go about another 10 minutes. So I'm going to ask a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap up. Ladies, is that okay? Am I okay on time? Okay. All right, so ladies, what do you contribute to your success, and how did you get your business to where you are now? Lori?
Consistency and persistency is key, and surround yourself by other strong, successful people. You know, if you don't know how to do something, ask, follow. I mean, we in Columbus, we're surrounded around amazing people that sell a lot of real estate. So get inspired, ask questions, get a mentor, and yeah.
Very good.
That's a good answer. I agree with that. I don't think I'd have any money if I didn't have a network. Like, I really wouldn't. I think that's the biggest thing with my success, and treating people the way I would want to be treated.
Yeah.
And I love, actually my favorite thing, I was just telling a lender on the way in, he said, thanks for those referrals. It actually, like, 3 more panned out from it. So you never know what, like, spider web you could create for someone. I think that brings me the greatest joy in our industry, is helping people and connecting them with someone that might help them. That's my answer.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. Relationships. I mean, we know that we're in a relationship industry. In strategic partnerships, I am grateful for my brokerage. My broker, they've done a lot for me, just kind of in my beginning stages. And yeah, I would also say, you know, being intentional about your why and your purpose for why you're doing something. There have been ebbs and flows. Trust me, I've been like, you know what, I'm done with real estate. Something different. But just reattaching yourself back to that purpose and the why of why you're doing something.
Yeah, that's so strong.
It's hard to remember 25 years ago as far as when I started back then, but I would have to say be authentic, grow with your network. One of the best advices we were given, like if you're a newer agent, you're going to be starting your first time home buyers a lot, you'd be surprised how much that turns in quickly into 5 deals down the road. You're selling their kids, now their kids are having kids. And 2, give back. I mean, unfortunately, we have amazing people in this industry right here in Columbus, but we also have a little bit of an older mindset where it's like you're a competitor. Get rid of that. There's enough business for all of us. That let's help each other grow, especially the ladies in the business. So that's what I would say.
Remember that this is your business. Your name is attached to this. Structure, support, being able to set systems up where you can do things like emailing your clients and keeping in touch with them automatically, that helps take some of your time out of your day. Your supports, like your family and your friends, you know, people that you can rely on. I mean, Jim and I split things up. We wouldn't be where we are today if we hadn't relied on each other and worked together. And Jim and Stacy have been doing this for just as long. You will find people that become your partner that you will need to rely on. And like she said, we're in this together. If we don't rely on each other and help each other, we're not going to have a good reputation, because people are going to see all of that, and that detracts from what we really do.
Yes, good. I'm actually going to ask 2 more questions. I think we have time. So the landscape of the industry is changing a little bit. Like, you can feel it happening in real time. There's this, I call it social media peer pressure. You know, if you're not, now I feel like if I'm not doing a TikTok, I'm not relevant. And I do like tap out, and I'll just scroll through TikTok and send it back and forth to my daughter, and we crack up. But you know, I think there's this pressure, and I'm starting to see agents in the community, I feel like I can tell they feel that pressure, and so they're unauthentically throwing out content, and you can feel it. Like, you can feel that it's maybe not them, and they feel like they have to do it to be relevant. So it's an overused word, but I do believe in being authentic. No matter what business you're in, like, people can feel when you're not being yourself. So continuing to stay true to yourself and delivering on your brand value, whether that's TikTok or not, it's fine. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, I'm old.
But there's a lot of talk across all industries about like the data play and how it's going to change the landscape of our industry. What are your thoughts on this? So we've got different ages here, so I'm anxious to hear. What are your thoughts on this and how this changes our clients and our services offered to them? It's a big question. Just your opinion.
I'm gonna start just because I saw that question. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I had to Google what the heck data play was.
I don't even know what it means either. I was like, is this right?
I think I got a feel for it, but in the younger agents are probably gonna be able to have a different view on it. But sometimes it's not even who you're projecting to the unknown. Because social media, like it being relevant, being the TikTok and stuff you're talking about, we don't even do none of that. But to the people that we've chosen to bring into our sphere that we're mentoring, and stuff like that, we're very available to them with social media. We don't do a lot of that. Jim's probably gonna shoot me for saying that because he keeps it. But I feel like if you are authentic, you're in your sphere, the people that you're mentoring, sometimes you don't have to go out to that crazy stuff to the thousands of people that don't know you.
Yeah.
We're definitely not hurting for business. We love our agents that we're mentoring and stuff like that, and that's our focus. So I'm sure there's a different level of people that, but after 25 years, most of our business is repeat referral business. So we have a different view on that. Because I didn't even know what that meant. I had to look it up. I'm like, what the heck is data play?
So I'll just speak to the data play, right? It's more about, artificial intelligence and AI and bots
The
and
offer
these sorts of
pad coming
correct,
in,
yes,
things
these
like
sorts
that,
of
yeah.
things, right, coming into our industry. And for me personally, I'm not intimidated by it at all because again, I know that we're in a relationship industry, right? And there are just certain things that in a traditional transaction cannot be replaced by artificial intelligence. I think we use those things to our advantage from a systems and schedule standpoint, right? But there are just some things that will not be able to replace the human touch, right? In our industry. So I think if agents begin to shift their perspective on truly how are you providing value to the client, that is more so important. Me personally, I do struggle with the TikToks and the videos and just seeing myself on video and those sorts of things. So for me, it's the medium. It's not necessarily me not being myself on the content, but it's like the platform itself, right? But
Yeah, well said.
So like in the investor world, there's a big trend of becoming like a mastermind and charging tens of thousands of dollars. And personally, if you want me to be really blunt with you, I just think it's a lot of noise. Like it's just a ton of fluffy electronic noise. I don't know a better way to describe it because it's true. Like at the end of the day, if I'm gonna be super selfish and the way that I'm gonna make money is by taking, meeting with my clients, finding something that's best for them and selling it. Now there's these other things that come into play to help them, remind them of you, like a birthday card or like I still send handwritten cards. Maybe I'm like, hope not, but a lot of my it's mostly flippers that are making the TikToks of like the before and afters, and they're cool. They're kind of like mini HGTVs, and I definitely find purpose for them, but in general, I find it a lot of noise. My social media consists of my dogs. And I am getting better at posting like a sold picture with like a cute thing and the Red One logo and something I'm working on. But it's just, I think it's relevant to stay in front of your clients because I do think because there's so many, it's the worst feeling in the world when you talk to someone about a house at a party and then a year later you see a closed sign or them celebrating, you're like, oh, that could have been me. So I think there's relevance in like creating content to constantly stay in touch with your sphere. But beyond that, like even the database stuff, I think that a lot of my generation is like makes a lot of plays on this is going to be the groundbreaking thing and this is going to take over, like the Silicon Valley talk. That's so huge in my generation, and I call BS just like a lot. Even like the NFT and the metaverse, and like owning real estate next to Snoop Dogg, like it's all BS. Like it's only gonna be relevant for as long as people think it's relevant, and I don't think it's not gonna hold purpose like living in a house will. So there's your young person point of view.
The young person point of view
field and in between and the owner, all it really boils back down to, real estate is an emotional connection.
Yeah.
Maybe that stuff, that data play is affecting other industries, but it is all about a relationship and working in a sphere and keeping up and
Yeah.
keeping, so that was 3 different perspectives.
I guess
from
the-
3 different agents.
The only other thing I'd say is that like maybe with the data play, like in the offer pad, like open door, like I see a lot of hedge funds coming in and using a lot of data to touch base with our sphere. And that, I guess, could be different than before. I saw some stat, and this is not right, no one quote me on this, but like 10 years ago, like 10% of single family homes were owned by investors, and now it's 40%. So, and that's what a lot of these, like, when you guys get the cash offers on your listings from like MSR or Amherst, all sorts of ones, some are flippers, but some fully intend on just keeping it for a rental. And I guess that could be like a disruption in our industry. And that's something that you just need to advise your clients on. Hey, you know, is this house, do you want this to go to a family? Do you want this to go to someone that's gonna raise their kids in it, or do you wanna sell it to a corporation?
I mean, and to the hedge fund piece, right? Because we're seeing that a lot, right?
I deal with that a lot.
Completely swooped, right? The offer's like, whoa, my client didn't even get a shot, right? Just kind of even educating our clients on the other side, right? As listing agents, hey, we say in our industry highest and best, right? Highest is not always best, right? Let's literally look at the best portion of that, right? And look at the rest of the offer. Let's, you know, as agents, let's be the industry expert and go do the research, the quick research to find out if those
Who they
hedge
are.
funds are actually closing on these
Or if
properties,
they're
right?
just gonna like go do their inspection and then chop
And
the
then try
price
to
down
lower
20
the
grand,
price.
that
You're
happens
right.
a lot too, so
Absolutely.
maybe that was
Yeah.
part of the question,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
It's all good info.
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, you guys, we all have to be ourselves.
Yep.
And what interests you, what you feel like you could do and you feel comfortable doing, I think that's where you're gonna shine the most. So it's not about what everybody else is doing, because there's so much out there, just ways in generating business. There's so many different ways to generate business. Opportunities are out there and business is unlimited. So just do things that you feel comfortable doing, and then you're just gonna be like, well, God, I did this real, like we're about to go live right now, you know? And you just get to the point where you feel comfortable doing what works for you. And I think that's the most important thing.
Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, so actually, one of the things we've done is, we have several partners in the industry across the country, and one of the most recent things one of our partners came up with was a system called IntelliTouch, and it's specifically for agents, where you upload your client list, and then you can track specific information on your client list, like when did they move in, what kind of, do they have a chimney, and you can track these things. You can also track the articles that they read. Are they looking to downsize and maybe move? Ooh, are they looking on how to remodel something? Maybe I can send them this contractor's name. And it helps you kind of get different touch points with your clients that is a little bit better than just sending a cheesy email that, you know, is one of those form letters that 5 other agents have. This makes you stand out a little bit. It gives you more of a personal touch. So we've been doing things like that to kind of think outside of the box to help everybody, because if your businesses get better, so do ours. And it's, like you said, it's all a chain of events. We work together. So if anyone's interested, let me know.
Jim.
And like the creativity I'm seeing out there, there's pros and cons to every market and to every situation. Like what's happening right now is challenging. It's not easy, and it's kind of like it's unprecedented in some ways, shapes, and forms. But there's opportunity to shift. And I was talking to an agent yesterday, and he's only been licensed for a couple years, and I'm like, man, talk about a crash course in like everything all at once. And then, you know, 5 years from now, he's going to have a skill set that he wouldn't have had he not gotten the business now. So, yeah, there's pros and cons to everything, and it's okay. And I said all that to say it's okay to just be you. Just be you and own that part, and don't feel the pressure if you're not doing TikTok. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, last question, because this is impactful women of real estate. So I'm going to end this with this question, and then you can sit, relax, grab some food, get some more drinks, and get to know each other.
We'll open up to questions too for a few minutes if you want
oh yeah, that'd be great. Okay. Why do you believe women have a unique voice in our industry?
I mean, we're women. We are so powerful. Anything, I mean, we have babies. We can do anything. Seriously, our mind is so amazing. And together, when we rise each other up, I mean, we really run the world.
No, I mean, I think like there's a guild or actors guild speech, and Reese Witherspoon did it, and they talk about like if a child loses their parent, you look for a mom. Like you always tell the kid to look for a mom. And I think that I'm not a mom, but I am a dog mom. I gotta remember that. But I just think that our attention to detail, our networking, being able to have the personal side touch that you've talked about and get into the emotion on it makes us so much better because we think about every worst case scenario before it even happens. So I don't think there's a better answer than yours, but that's why I personally think it's everything.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add to that. I mean, I was gonna go in the route of that we really do pay attention to detail a little bit more, which is one of the reasons most people know that I push for women to invest in real estate and really impact, generational wealth and what that legacy looks like.
Yeah.
When we think about real estate and housing and communities, right, there's communities among families, right, that women help push and impact, right, and the education that spurs out into those neighborhoods, and so that's why.
I would say, and I was told this at a very young age to get in the industry, if you were to take the top 200 list and do the ratios, products have a gender. When you buy a car, you think about going in and talking to a man about a car. We are very fortunate in this industry. All the people that I mentor, women do have it easier because homes are very emotional, not houses, they're homes. It's an emotional product, so you have a one-up right off the bat. Maybe it's because we're more emotional, we're more connected, but also just perception. So take it, run with it, be authentic. It comes with being a woman, I think, into where it is. It's just real estate is driven by amazing, amazing women.
I think the men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I mean,
Men are wrong, we're right.
Yeah,
it's going downhill.
You see what's happening with this.
Sometimes you can't. You need to nurture, you need to support, you need to guide. You can't just go in and give an answer. And we don't. We tend to
That's
just,
true.
honey.
That's true.
So I think that's where we come in and where we're so powerful is because we're home. And when we sell that, we're selling a piece of ourselves. So we're selling that experience and that home body that a guy just can't do. Sorry, honey.
You're taking the brunt of this, Jim.
I love it. So Jess, you said take some questions? Okay. All right, we'll take a few questions from the audience. Does anybody have any questions for someone? Don't be shy. We have to have one.
I'll ask one.
Okay.
I want to ask a little bit about collaboration. When you think about just women coming together and working together in business, we tend to see some of the ugly sides of that where there's competition. And so I know some of you have some dynamic teams or you're working with ladies in your office, but how do you view that when it comes to adding another strong woman to what you're doing in any capacity? How do you process that and how do you keep that in a positive space to keep the energy that you have?
I'll go. I think other women inspire me. So when I see another woman being successful, I'm like, whoa, what is she doing? I mean, when I first started, I started working for Jelena Siamako when I was 18 years old, being an unlicensed assistant. And she was this boss lady that had it all together. And it was so inspiring because she was a woman, she owned her own business, she paid her own bills, she did all this stuff. So I think that when you see another successful woman whether they're in your office or around you, look at the positive things that they're bringing to your life. I mean, a lot of times you never know how that other lady can help you. Sometimes it's not even about real estate, it's about friendships and it's about relationships and just being there for someone.
So like I came from corporate real estate and the multi-family development, and a lot of that industry is a male, like middle-aged white males. And it's pretty like cutthroat being at a table and hearing them, and it's all about like power and like making someone look like an idiot. So that was what I was like kind of brought up in. And then I got out of that. I started working for another investor, more on the like single family residential, and it wasn't until I came across Marilyn Mason, who is a prevalent, she's a Worthington agent, she's awesome. And I saw her, and it was like the first example I saw, just like, she's totally kick-ass, she's so sweet, but she like ran it, and she embraced me, and she helped me, like we found the house we were looking for at the time. And it was, I think it's just being around women that lead by a good example, because it's so easy to look at the ones that look at my license number and like, oh, it's like 2018, and like, and see that and think, oh, she's like, young or whatnot. And being around someone that doesn't really care and is there to help. I think just surrounding yourself by that and not the negative ones, so you can learn to lead by example.
I would say, man, woman, or indifferent, right? To take the human element out of someone, right? People are people, right? And so we have to get to the heart of meeting them where they're at, right? And what their personality style is. Some folks would, when you think about maybe competition or confrontation, right? I think about specific transactions that I have had with other women that I'm like, wow, I totally, respected you in business way better actually than when I had the transaction, but it didn't take the human element out of what their goal, their underlying goal was for the transaction, right? And I think it's just sometimes just meeting folks where they're at, trying to understand people, truly listen and not just listen to then have the next word and speak. I think when we really try to truly understand and engage people for who they are, we come out on the other side even better ourselves.
So I would say that question for me is, and I'll be the first to say if anybody dealt with me during the short sale period, I apologize for that. I've done a lot of personal growth in the last few years, because during that time frame, and even coming from I was in the new build sales prior to then, where everybody was in competition. If you came in and sat with me, I was selling. And
when Stacy hung up the phone on me, I said, "Girl, call me back. Don't act like that. Come on." We cool, girl. I
I contributed to a lot of things. The industry's changing. I've changed and done a lot of personal growth, and I found out that relationships are way more valuable than just one transaction. If you're not, it's out there. The support, the growth, the partnership. If you're not getting it, keep looking. It's so yeah. So I apologize for during that time frame.
But that's the piece, right? Things are seasonal too, right? I mean, you just might catch someone at a difficult time in their life, right? So just being gracious in season.
So you've changed?
Now, this is a mentee of mine. I am locker room style coach. But it's with love.
Yeah.
So to document the relationship thing, he did an inspection like 15 years ago for someone who was getting off work first thing in the morning, coming straight over to do the inspection because she worked third shift. She wasn't going to be able to get breakfast or lunch or anything like that because she had to come right over to do this inspection. So Jim picked her up a cup of coffee and a cinnamon roll, and she hunted us down 7 years later for us to sell her house and introduced us to an agent who is still using us. You never know what little thing might ripple out into the water. When you're interacting with somebody, even if you're having a crappy day, it's hello. I've done that before. Like, I've just not wanted to talk to people, but
you have to pick up your big girl britches and move on because you have a business. You know what? I'm sorry, this has been a really rough day. If I sounded curt with you, you know, I'm not. Let's pick this up tomorrow, or whatever you need to do to be able to deal with it, but do it professionally and with compassion, because things are changing and it's not as competitive as it was. We need to not be as competitive as we were. We need to build these relationships